Everyone, thanks for listening to the Western Hunting Hub podcast. I am super excited about this episode. We are going to be chatting with Melissa Bachman, and if you don't know who she is, then you're out of the loop. You need to figure out who she is, and you will hear shortly. She has definitely been an icon in the hunting industry, and I've been watching her for quite some years now and enjoying the content that she puts out. She was generous enough to spend some time and chat with us, a small podcast, and I think that speaks volumes of who she is as even a fellow South Dakotan. We're nice people. So I'm glad that she wanted to spend some time and offer her advice and info and chat with us when she doesn't get anything out of it. So I appreciate her so much, and I haven't made this call yet. So I'm going to make that call here in just 2 minutes. So I'm excited to see what this brings. On another note, don't forget our giveaway is still rolling. So make sure you go to our Instagram and get signed up for our binocular giveaway. So here's Melissa. Melissa, thank you so much for jumping on our podcast. You have been an icon and a leader in this hunting industry. I know you're the host of Winchester Deadly Passion on Sportsman Channel, and I think the fact that you are willing to chat with me, my little old podcast, speaks volume of who you are as a person. And so I really appreciate you jumping on and chatting with me.
Well, I appreciate you reaching out, and thank you for all the kind words. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, and first of all, I'd love to maybe dive into who you are just a bit and what you do and why you do it.
Mm-hmm. Well, I grew up in central Minnesota. It was my brother and I have a younger brother who's 4 years younger, and I've been in part of the hunting lifestyle since I was a little kid. My mom and dad both absolutely loved hunting, and instead of paying a babysitter, they brought us with. My dad jokes it's because he didn't want to pay a babysitter, but we did all those things together as a family, and it just kind of got ingrained in who I was, and I just loved it. I could not wait until my 12th birthday. In Minnesota, you had to wait till you were 12 before you could go big game hunting, and I remember not even hardly being able to sleep the nights before it was time to go deer hunting when I was 12. I was up all night drawing out maps of where we should hunt first on our property. And, I look back and I wonder, my parents were probably thinking, what have we created here? But it just kind of shows the real passion there. And, even in high school, my mom and dad allowed me to have a work permit. As long as I kept straight A's, I didn't have to go to school till 10 a.m. my senior year. I had enough credits to actually graduate early, but I didn't want to do that because of sports. So I got to go hunting every morning. So that kind of shows you just how much I loved it, and that's all I ever wanted to do. I wanted to find a way to hunt for a living. So I'm never the type of person who wanted a TV show or any of that. I just needed to find a means to be able to pay my mortgage and hunt all the time, and this is kind of the route it ended up working.
Well, by 10 a.m., you could do a lot of hunting as a kid.
Yes, sure. I did. And if I had a deer, I got to stay at home till noon so I could get it hung in the garage and then get back to school.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And I think I just saw you post not long ago just some old pictures of you as a youngin' and some of your hunting. So that's pretty neat.
Yeah, and I'm so lucky that one, my parents took us along, and two, that they took those photos. People didn't take quite as many pictures back then, but I sure do appreciate it now. And looking back, some of those memories, those are our fondest memories. Still getting together as a family, talking about those times. And we didn't have phenomenal hunting. I think that's something, too, that's important to point out. We just hunted for whitetails. I shot lots of small fawns, basically, my first several years. And my parents were proud, and so was I. I never thought about, trophy hunting or anything like that. We hunted a lot of public land. And I think it's just important to get out there, to enjoy it, and, as parents, to be proud of whatever your kids get. And that's all I cared about. They were happy, so was I.
And that documentation is something that I've realized is such a powerful thing. Just to remember those things. So that's cool that your folks took those pictures, because I was a college wrestler and a high school wrestler for many, many years. I don't have a single picture of me with my hand rose, and it's almost I try and tell some of my close friends, I think it happened. I know it happened. I won some, so but there's not a picture out there, and it's just
Mhm.
because folks were so wrapped up in the moment of what was going on. And same
They
thing with
were
our
watching
hunting.
it, and nobody had phones, right?
Yeah,
So you
yeah,
didn't have phones that could just snap the quick picture quick. You actually had to break out a big camera, take the picture, go get it developed, the whole thing. So I think that
exactly.
makes a difference too, where people have a lot more memories now that are right in their phone.
Exactly. And I know that hunting is your life, and you want to do that, wanted to do that for a living. But as you've developed over the years that you've been doing this, what is your current mission or what do you want to tell people? What do you want to share?
Well, the main reason I even have a show anymore is because I want to show others how much fun it is to get out there. I want to bring other families together like my family was. I want to teach them that they can go outside, they can do these things together, and it's such a great bonding experience. I want kids to be able to watch my episodes on YouTube or see them on Sportsman's Channel or watch them on My Outdoor TV and say, you know what? I didn't even know you could go hunt alligators. I want to do that. So that's kind of become my mission is spreading the word, showing people that women can do it. You can be old and do it. You can be young. It doesn't matter, and you don't have to have someone right there to help you. There's enough information out there now that you can learn as you go. So part of it is I want to show how entertaining and fun it is, but the other part of it is I want to show people some great information and some things that I've learned over the years, maybe by sitting in the cold for 30, 40 days straight. I'm going to tell you my exact tips to stay warm. So I want to be able to, really educate people along the way as well.
Yeah, and it sounded like you might have been out hunting coyotes last night.
Yeah,
Uh,
I've been hunting coyotes almost every single day.
yeah, I was out yesterday morning, and it was bitter cold.
It is freezing
It
right
was a
now.
little cold out for sure. So, in some recent changes, and even in our email thread, I had listed it as Colorado Hunting Hub, and so I started this podcast in April, and that's where I was started. That's where I was living. But I've made an announcement that I personally have moved back to South Dakota, my home state, and you're in South Dakota
Well, we're
now.
happy to have you back.
Well, thanks. I spent 25 years here, 8 in Colorado, and man, I forgot how much I miss South Dakota. I love it
Hmm.
here, and it's my home, and I'm closer to family and all those great things. And I can always go back to elk hunt. It's no big deal. Uh,
Hmm.
but you tag South Dakota all the time, or I see it in your Instagram posts. And uh, so tell us about what brought you here. Like, how long you've been in South Dakota, and yeah, what brought you here?
Well, I was originally a Minnesota girl. I grew up in Minnesota. That's where my family is. And then when I started hunting, when I got out of college, I traveled all over all the time. For I think about 7 or 8 years, I was on the road about 320 days a year. So I don't know if it's fair to call anywhere home at that point in time,
Sure.
except for my truck. And then I met my husband. He's a game warden here in South Dakota. I was out hunting. We started hunting together for years, and I've been living here. We built a home 2 years ago now. So I've probably been here for, I'd say, at least 4 years, and I love South Dakota. I kind of always joke that Minnesota was kind of a waste of my residency for hunting because I would travel all the time. And, I got to hunt with my mom and dad a little bit, but I really didn't hunt Minnesota much. And now that we live in South Dakota, I'm actually able to travel less because we have such phenomenal hunting right outside our back door. So I really enjoy that. I enjoy the wide variety. We get to shoot everything from elk to coyotes to deer, muleys, antelope, you name it. We've got it here, and I really enjoy that.
And I don't necessarily want to be another ad to move to South Dakota because
No, I try to. It's great, but
I
we don't
know
need that many more people.
I know there's the influx, and I feel like I'm a part of those people moving here. But I was here first. I was
Hmm.
born here. I was born here, so I was here first. But what are some of those assets? I know you just mentioned a couple, but specifically, what are some of those assets that we have for hunting and some of those really good opportunities?
Well, I think one of the things is there's a lot of land to hunt here. Not only public land, but we have great luck going door to door, knocking from time to time, telling people how respectful you'll be, and having the ability to hunt different places. Another thing that I love for raising kids here, it's literally, in my opinion, going back in time 20 to 30 years. We have a very small town. Everybody kind of knows each other. If a kid's missing at a football game, they'll say, "Hey, if anybody sees little Abby, send her home," over the loudspeaker. I think there's a lot to be said for that. And, for us, we get to hunt, all over. The tags are very, there's a lot of options for tags. And really the people, I mean, you cannot beat the people of South Dakota. You got the nicest, kindest hearted people that I've ever seen. And the good news is we've got a lot of wind and we've got a lot of cold weather. So if people aren't tough enough, they don't last very long. So the ones that are here are pretty tough and pretty good people.
Yeah, I would definitely echo that. One of the things that brought us back is just being able to have good interactions with good people. We're going to check out a church for the first time here this weekend, and it's going to be that homely feel. I know it. I just absolutely know it. And chatting with people in different churches and things. So, I didn't put this on my list, but I'd love to hear kind of your elevator speech on getting permission. That could help anyone in any state. What do you do when you knock on a door? What do you say?
Well, my number one things are to tell people what I would want to know. Okay, so if someone came to ask to hunt on my land, I would want to know, what they're hunting, what type of people they are, how respectful they're going to be. Because people, if they don't hunt themselves, their number one concerns are usually, are you going to be shooting near my home and are my pets in danger, right? Are you going to be driving on the roads and ripping and tearing everything up and driving through my fields and just being disrespectful? And are you going to be following the law? I don't want any trouble here. So I think those are kind of the very first things to show to people. And it's all about respect. It's about your attitude. It's about being willing to help, and offering something in return, whether that's money, whether that's maybe help. There's a lot of people that might need help fixing fence or doing something else, where if you don't have the money and you offer to help, or maybe do the good deed first and then, ask for the hunting permission second. Those are things that can really go a long way. And then if someone does allow you to hunt, I think it is so important to return back maybe around Christmas, some other time, and give them, let's say, they let you turkey hunt. Bring them some turkey sticks that you made or something else, just as a thank you, to say, you know what, I really appreciate it. And those little things, in my opinion, can really go a long way to keeping that open door there for you to keep hunting.
Do you do any sort of like entry level permission things? Go and ask about coyotes, or sometimes it seems like jumping straight into deer.
Mhm.
Hey, could I shoot your big 190-inch mule deer you got running around your pasture? Probably is going to be ending with a get out of my
Right.
my face. But is there some things that you do that to navigate that?
Well, I guess it kind of depends. It depends if they have anybody there hunting at that time. If they're already getting paid or have people coming in and out, then obviously you're not going to just walk in and get to shoot their big bucks for free. Coyote hunting is a very easy thing, in my opinion, because a lot of people do not want coyotes around. But again, with coyotes, it's all about showing that you're going to be safe, that you're not going to be shooting anywhere near their home or near their pets, because that would be my biggest concerns. So making sure people understand that, and kind of once you get the foot in the door, you can really go a long way from there. And then maybe turkeys are next. There's not as many people coming out paying for turkey hunting, and then maybe eventually you can work your way up to deer. But each instance is different. It never hurts to ask. But if they already have someone there hunting and they get paid for it, yeah, they're probably not going to just let someone else come in.
Yeah. I see also that you've been posting a lot, lots of family related things with your kids, and cool to see them holding a coyote or whatever it is. And I got a couple of questions on how you're introducing to your kids, because that's something, as a young dad myself. I got a 2-year-old. I already took him on an elk hunt this year.
That's awesome.
And I was the caller. I just kind of left my bow in the truck, and I think we even could have shot one. But he was 2 then. He's now a little over 2.5, and he still talks about the bull coming down the hill. Bull coming
Mhm.
down the hill. Bull came down the hill. We called him in, and
Mhm.
it was the coolest, most proud moment I've ever had. And
Mhm.
I'm getting to that point where now I need to strategically think about how I introduce him to this, how I introduce. Do I bring my wife's not a hunter. I mean, she's gone pheasant
Mhm.
hunting it before, but she's not a hunter, and so
Mhm.
how that dynamic works. And I know many folks are curious about how others introduce their family, and when I bring home something and there's a dead deer in the back of the truck, how
Mhm.
and every kid's going to be different. So that's
Mhm.
a something to think about. How old are your kids first? That would help. And then what are some steps that you did along the way to introduce?
Mhm. So our youngest Jax is 2 as well. So he's about 2.5 now. So we're in the exact same boat as you are. And the other kids are 14, 12, and 10. So we kind of have a variety of ages in the house. And honestly, sometimes they don't want to go hunting. And that's okay. And I think that's what people need to realize is you're so right, as every kid is different. If it was up to Jax, who's 2, he would never do anything other than hunt. That is he just loves it. And with the like Bryn, she's 10. If we go hunting, I don't want to, I'm always preaching, don't gross them out, don't put blood on kids' face, don't tell them they got to eat the heart, all these things, because as a kid, it could really scare them. Now, our 2-year-old, he just took a bite out of the heart last week.
Oh, jeez.
Out of a deer because he loves the movie Dances with Wolves, and they do that in the movie. So he decided to do that. Totally different kid, totally different situation. All he goes to daycare and tells them about is taking a bite out of the heart. So I think you've got a variety of different kids, but I think it's so important to take each one as to what they like and letting them go with it. And also, if they get sick of it and they don't want to, not pressuring them, because you don't want them to come because you want them there. You want them to come because they're having fun with it. So I think what's important is to make it fun, to always bring snacks, try to really watch the weather so that you're bringing them when it's the most comfortable. And, even if that means putting down your bow or gun during that hunt, doing that and being able to enjoy that together. Sometimes, like you said, it doesn't even matter if you end up shooting an animal or you call an elk in. It was the experience that's the most, the best memory out there. So I think that's really important. And even giving kids a camera. I always tell people that if you have someone who's, maybe a young girl or a young boy who's not really sure about if they want to kill something, bring a camera with. Let them sit in the blind with you. Take them turkey hunting and let them take pictures of that turkey as it's coming in. And then when they ask to be the hunter, that's a great time to let them do it. But I think sometimes people push it a little bit too early. And if you do that, you can burn them out right from the beginning.
Right. I don't want to be one of those wrestling dads that I saw over and over again that created this
Yeah.
monster that was a stud, and then they never went on to college to wrestle because,
Because they hated it.
yeah, dad forced them.
Yep.
Yeah, that's so important to me. I want my kid to respect and love the outdoors. And
Hmm.
whether he is a hunter, whatever, or if he is a mountain biker, whatever,
Hmm.
I want to support him in that. But I just want him to have this same sort of passion for the outdoors because it's so important in my life. And
Hmm.
wanting that to be something that is just something we do. It's what the
Hmm.
Whitleys do.
Hmm.
And trying to normalize a lot of that. We check our
Hmm.
trap. We're checking our trap line. We got to do
Hmm.
that. Got to go out and
Hmm.
getting to see those things. And one thing I wanted to do an episode way back with Colorado Parks and Wildlife, and I never did, on family friendly hunts. Um,
Hmm.
what are some of those hunts throughout the year, any time of the year, or just activities that are your go to easy family? Not going to be sub-zero degree. Some of those seasons, and it doesn't have to be South Dakota either.
Hmm.
That you found as being really successful, really fun family hunts or fishing trips.
We've always used turkeys as all the kids' first hunts. Turkeys are so much fun because it's interactive. They can hear them coming. We've used that, and it has been so successful. Our kids, each one of them we've been with on their first turkey hunt, and they just have loved it. And this year, Jax was a year and a half when it was turkey season, and I made it our goal to get a turkey with him by our side.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure there were a couple times my husband might have been thinking, this is a really bad idea. We took him out the first time. We didn't use a blind at all. And we had a turkey coming in. It was a beautiful day. And he saw it coming in. And now remember, this was one of our first turkey hunts of the year. So it wasn't that long before we were coyote hunting. And as Jack saw the turkey, he started howling like a coyote.
Oh my gosh.
And then this turkey starts shock gobbling back. So he thinks it's hilarious. So he's giggling and howling. It spooks this turkey off. And we filmed it. And then we ended up setting up in a blind later. And we got a turkey and we were able to let him see it. And I shot it. And, it was probably the most excited I've ever been on a turkey just because he was right there by our side. And same with some of the other kids. We had so much fun going out and trying to make it a fun experience. And when they get sick of it, being done and coming home and one question I always get at shows and stuff is people ask, well, what about electronics? Should I let my kids have a phone or an iPad in the blind? And my thoughts are that anytime you take it away, it's almost kind of like a punishment. So a lot of times we'll let them bring it along when it's kind of boring. And then when the action picks up, they're going to set it aside. They don't want anything to do with it. The fun is beginning. So I think part of it is making it enjoyable. And, maybe limiting the time, but not completely saying they can't have it, because I don't ever want it to feel like a punishment that you're going hunting. I want it to be a fun thing. And it doesn't take long, and they don't even care about that. They're more interested in asking questions and letting them call and letting them do things that maybe isn't in the best interest of hunting, but who cares? It makes it a way more fun experience for them.
That's good. That's good tips. We're finishing. Well, we have finished here in South Dakota our major hunting seasons and basically just some depredation hunts, and then all of our little filler seasons and things are going on. So, what are some of those between major hunts activities, things that you do to just keep honing your skills and just keep getting out? And I know coyote hunting's one of them, but what are some of those others that you're hitting in spring, summer, what have you?
Well, we definitely coyote hunt a ton during this time of the year. We also like to do any type of ice fishing we can. That's a fun thing that if it's a nice day, we can take the kids out, and it's just action packed. And we only do it for maybe an hour or two, nothing very long. And then as spring comes closer, we love to take the kids and the dogs out shed hunting. We don't always find a ton of sheds, but it's fun to just go out there to enjoy it. During that time, looking for maybe new places to hang stands, seeing where some of the rubs were last year, getting ideas of where to put cameras out. All that is kind of part of your whole scouting and seeing what the deer are doing, looking at those beat down trails and making your decisions at that point. And then another thing we enjoy doing is squirrel hunting. We have a little Boston Terrier and a Frenchie, and our Boston, she just loves going after squirrels. So that's something fun that we can take the kids out and do. And that's a very fun thing to just go along, have fun, make a little afternoon of it. And sometimes we'll add prairie dog hunting in there as well. So again, anything that's kind of action packed and a lot of fun and allows them to talk as much as possible is good.
Yeah. We're going to go on a little rabbit hunt with one of the game wardens here to film it and kind of do a little educational thing on that. And I'm interested to learn a little bit. I've never really just gone on a rabbit hunt. It's always been like an opportunistic thing of, oh, there's a rabbit, we'll get the rabbit. But so I'm interested to film that, get some info as a total just opportunity. That's an opportunity to get out and would be as simple. You don't have to be super quiet necessarily. And squirrels and rabbits taste good.
So. And it's fun for kids. When we were growing up, my brother on his bike had all the squirrel tails he had ever shot hanging off the back of his bike. So I think sometimes that can be overlooked. And we actually brought Noah, who's 14 now. That was one of his very first hunts. Is Ben and I brought Pork Chop and him out squirrel hunting. And you know what? We did that whole hunt and we never even killed a squirrel, but we had so much fun. It was just wonderful. He found a dead head and different things. So I think, people kind of overstress the idea that you have to be successful and kill something to make it a great experience. And that is so not true in the eyes of a child.
Oh, absolutely. And shed hunting is just the ultimate Easter egg hunt.
Yes, it
Absolutely.
is.
I am addicted to it, and I took my mom out in Colorado a few years back before we had a season there,
Hmm.
and she had never she liked to hike. She wanted to hike, but this is hiking with a purpose. I don't
Right,
I don't
100%.
yeah, I don't like to hike. I gotta have
I want a reason to be
I
hiking.
want a reason to be hiking. I want to carry my
Uh,
bow or my rifle or a pack full of antlers. And even when you
mhm,
find that one, it's just a cool thing that the last thing that thing was there or whatever, there was an
mhm,
elk or a deer with that attached to his head, and I was the first one in that spot. Always just a fun thing to do for sure.
mhm,
So I have a totally unrelated. This is a transition question.
mhm,
A different question. I saw that you joined up with Silencer Central and been doing some work with them and using a suppressor. I just
mhm,
got mine ordered, and I would just kind of did it because I knew this would be a time to do it, and also I don't
mhm,
want to be deaf later on.
mhm.
And so, talk to us a little bit about some of the benefits and why that price tag behind there might not be such a bad thing to do.
Well, one of the number one reasons I tell people is you should do it because if you have kids, if you want to bring people into hunting and shooting, I've asked all the new kids that we bring in. We try to bring new kids from our community all the time. What are you scared of? What are you apprehensive about when they come to shoot the very first time? They're always scared of the sound and of the recoil. The two number one things that scare all new shooters. And by using a suppressor, you're almost reducing that to a point where they're not afraid of it anymore. They go out, they shoot it. What we like to do is anytime we're going to have kids shoot, we shoot it first, so that way they can see what it's going to sound like, what it's going to kick like, and then let them take over. And it's funny because we'll take these kids out, and we actually brought our girl Bryn out turkey hunting, and the first question she said is, "Well, does this have a suppressor on it?" And I said, "No." She goes, "Well, I don't want to shoot it then. I want a different one." I said, "Well, we don't have one for that right now." Um, but it just shows you at 10, that's how important it becomes to them. And once someone shoots with a suppressor, I can promise you, you're going to wonder, why didn't I do this earlier? Your hearing, you only get one set of ears. And hearing protection is so important. And if you think about it, I mean, I'm guilty of it. When I'm out actually hunting, I don't have earmuffs on. I don't have hearing protection in, and I shoot a lot. I'm out in the field 300 days a year. It is so important, and not only for me, but the guide you're hunting next to. I have my cameraman with me. He's one of my best friends. I don't want to destroy his hearing over time either. So I think when people think of it as, okay, this is something that is not only for you, but because they put it in the NSF trust that can be passed on to your future generations, it is such a good investment. And it's awesome to see, a company out of South Dakota. They're made by Mac Brothers over in Sturgis. It makes you more accurate. It gives you better follow-up shots. For coyote hunting, a lot of times you have a better chance at a double because they didn't even necessarily know what happened when the first one was shot. So I think there's just so many benefits, and I'm always easy to kind of push people to go for it because you're not going to regret it. I've never heard anyone who bought one who said, "Yeah, that wasn't worth it." Everyone's like, "Geez, I wish I'd have done that earlier."
Yeah, and I think one of the big things that I think is going to help me, besides not being a deaf old man someday, is
Mhm.
that I don't shoot my rifle enough. I shoot
Mhm.
my bow. I shoot my bow a
Mhm.
lot, and that's I try and be a bow hunter first before a rifle hunter, but you got to have opportunities. You got to you're not going to
Mhm.
turn down another season. So,
Right?
um, but the one thing I think that'll help me a lot is just that shooting. It's like shooting maybe a 22 versus my
Right.
30-06,
Mhm.
and maybe I won't anticipate that shot as much and be able
Mhm.
to squeeze that off. So I'm looking forward to that.
And it makes it more enjoyable if you do go out to the range. I mean, I shoot a 300 Win Mag with 180 grain bullets. It's not that much fun to go shoot it at the range. You put a suppressor on it now, it's a lot less recoil, a lot less noise. It makes it more fun, and when it's more fun, you're going to do it more often.
Yeah, that's a good point. So I need some help with
Hmm.
coyote hunting tactics. What are you've been doing this a lot, and it seems that you and your husband have been successful at that for sure. So what's your go-to? It seems like, and hunting as much as you have been, uh, how are you not running out of certain areas? And I know that gaining permission, yes, but I look at even some of the all the public land that's here,
Mm-hmm.
even one big huge piece of public, I'm gonna access it in this spot today because of the wind.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that spot is almost shot then for a period of time, and I'm not going to head back to that area. So doing that day after day after day, how do you not burn out a spot and or approach it differently? And how often are you going back to those similar areas? Ton of
Mm-hmm.
questions I just loaded in there.
No
So
problem.
if you're able to
Um,
pick out a piece of that somewhere.
Well, I think the most important thing is always hunting the wind, right? So the number one thing is when you get into a spot, you need to ensure that how your setup's going to be, that you've got the wind in your favor. Do not hunt a spot just because you want to hunt it, even though the wind is marginal or not right. You will burn it out fast. The next thing that I think a lot of people make mistakes about is they just walk into their spot, right? My husband is one of the most cautious hunters you've ever seen. And as we ease up to a spot, we're constantly, it takes us quite a while to even get in there because we're just slowly inching in, constantly looking for coyotes that are already out there. Because what a lot of people do is they just go into their spot, and you're going there because it's a good potential coyote spot. And those coyotes see you coming and they are long gone. And then you wonder, well, why didn't I get any coyotes at that spot? Well, they saw you going in, then you hit their call. And so now they associate that call with a person. They're not going to be coming into the call.
Yeah.
My dad saw this firsthand. He went up to North Dakota this last weekend. He's a huge coyote hunter, and he said they started up the call and they saw 4 coyotes run the opposite direction as soon as they heard that call.
Oh boy.
So what does that tell you? It means there's a lot of pressure. And as more and more people are enjoying coyote hunting and learning about it and getting used to it, you're going to make mistakes as a new hunter. And I think that's one of the main things is if you do blow a coyote out, do not continue on to that spot and then set up your call, because all you're doing is really teaching them that that call is associated with a person coming into the area. So I think the number one thing is making sure you've got the wind right. But number two is just entering these areas very, very cautiously and sitting down, getting in the spot where you've got some good cover and kind of looking at, okay, where do you think they're going to come, and being able to be set up for that position. And it's always nice to have 2 people if possible so you can each watch different directions, because a lot of times coyotes will come, in an area that you're not expecting. But if there's always 2 of us, I think that really helps as well. So that's something is making sure that you're setting up correctly and having, the vantage point, trying to get up high to see them coming from a long way off. But it does become a point where, how much land do you have and how often can you go back? We won't hit the same spots day after day after day. We're lucky that we do have a lot of area to hunt, but we do go back to some of those same areas. And, you can have really good luck as long as you're not blowing them out. And again, having those coyotes associate that call with a person walking through the field.
Yeah. What's your go-to kind of cadence, your call sequence? And I know that changes from November
Mm-hmm.
till March or whenever, but maybe just January, February. What's your go-tos?
Well, I think it kind of depends on each situation. What we try to do is watch what those coyotes are doing in the area. A lot of times we'll see coyotes that never see us, and we don't shoot at them usually unless they're 200 yards and in and coming to the call. There's been numerous instances where we could just shoot them because we see them, but we enjoy calling them in and bringing them in. But it also allows you to kind of watch and see what's going on, to see if they're fighting. Like right now, they're already starting to step up. Looks like they're breeding and beginning to mate. So you're going to see more coyote fights. And we have lots of different calls, lots of different sounds, and then also hand calls. And if they get in close enough, our number one best thing we like to do is just lip squeak them in. My husband is a firm believer that there is no better call than lip squeaking them in. And anytime they are within probably 150 yards and in, he'll do that, and it's amazing. They just come right to us. So I think sometimes people can overcall, but I think the fight sounds are really important. Obviously, knowing what's in the area, we're in heavy pheasant country, so using sounds that sound like either pheasants or chickens or anything like that are in distress as well, of what is in that area, and also what other hunters maybe are not using. I know in some of the calls they talk about the fight scenes, and it's so interesting to hear how they even got these sounds. Some of the people will explain what was going on, like this was a young female who had been by herself, and now the others came and they're all in a big fight. So listening to what caused these sounds, I think, can help your knowledge as an overall coyote hunter, so you know why that's happening, so you can kind of use your best judgment as to when to use it and when not to.
Interesting. Yeah, oftentimes a lot of coyote hunters are, you see one, shoot one, kind of thing. I think.
Yeah, and I'm sure more ranchers would appreciate that at all times. And
Yeah,
the thing is we hunt those places enough. More than likely, if we didn't spook them, the next time we come, we can call them in. So we don't shoot at them on the run. They always need to be stopped. We'll bark, whatever it takes to get them stopped. And I mean, it really does make for some very successful shots. You hear so many people with so many misses coyote hunting. But if you always get them to stop and you're shooting them 200 yards and in, your percentage goes way, way, way up. We use a 22-250 with 55 grain Winchester Varmint X bullets, and it has dropped every single coyote this entire season. I mean, just right in their tracks with minimal pelt damage. So those are all kind of nice things to have as well when you're looking to sell those furs later on.
Yeah, 22-250. I'll echo that one. I love that. Love that caliber for sure. Really be able to reach out there and poke too if you had to. I don't want to take up too much more of your time, but I'd love to end with kind of what's next for you for 2021. What's on your list? Any sweet hunts you got booked?
Yeah, I think so. I actually have two really big hunts planned that normally I would never put two big hunts in one season. But last year, because of COVID, we were not able to go across the Canadian border. So my husband and I are doing a moose hunt with our bow up in the Yukon. I did this not last year, but the year before, and I did it with a rifle, and we called a moose into 18 yards. And of all the hunts I've ever done, it was the most enjoyable hunt I think I've ever been on. We just had such a wonderful time, saw so many bulls. And so the guy was kind of thinking about retiring. And I said, no, we have to come back up here. So I booked it again with my husband and I both hunting this time. He came with last time just to help film, but we're going to do it with our bows. And I'm really looking forward to that. That'll be, I think it's like a 15-day hunt. And then we'll be home, I think, for a day. And then we go on another 15-day hunt to Kodiak for brown bear, Sitka deer, and mountain goat. And again, normally I would never book those two type of hunts back to back because that's a long time to be away from the kids. But this year it just so happened that's how it's going to work. So we've got a pretty great schedule. Plus, all the muleys and whitetails and everything else we usually hunt around here.
Of course. I am in love with mountain goat hunting, and I wish I could do that more than I have. But it's that's just so awesome. I love it so much. But that was a one and done for a while.
Yep, that's the way. That's like brown bear for me. I just love it, but it's not something you can do all that often. It's a very pricey deal, and it takes a while, and you just got to wait and then enjoy it while you get to do it, and then live off the memory for quite a while.
Yeah, I was going to ask you this in the beginning, and maybe you just answered. I'm not sure, but what is your favorite hunt species and method of take?
Boy, it's hard. I love like that moose hunt. I love anything with interaction. Elk hunting, my husband and I have had just some tremendous elk hunts actually right here in South Dakota and, New Mexico and different places. But I would have to say my overall favorite, nothing gets me more excited than whitetails. And that's because I grew up hunting them. I dreamed at 12 years old of someday shooting one big buck. That's all I wanted. And so to this day, if I could pick Boone and Crockett anything, it's got to be whitetails. They're just my favorite. It's just the way it is when you've dreamed of it since you were 12, that you can't get rid of it. I didn't dream about moose hunting when I was 12. I dreamed about shooting deer.
Yeah. And if somebody made you put down a gun or put down a bow for the rest of your life, which one are you putting down.
No, I can't say on that. No, I can't say on that. I wouldn't want to put either.
I know.
Let's put it that way.
I know. I totally get it. So then where can people find you? Where can they watch? What do you got coming up in that regard that we can pay attention to?
You can go to melissabachman.com. It's got all the different social media channels where you can find me on all the different things. My show runs year-round on Sportsman's Channel, so every Sunday morning at 10:30 Central Time, 11:30 Eastern Time. And it's also on 3-4 different times throughout the week, or just set your DVR and watch it whenever you have time. But I have new episodes always coming out, and then I'm always trying to keep things updated online, on social, what we're doing with the family. Try to kind of mix it up, but it's all about hunting all the time.
Speaking of going back 20 years, when were hunting shows on? Sunday morning.
Yes, they were.
The very few that were there, but Sunday morning, hunting and fishing was on. I threw in the VHS, hit record for
That's funny.
Babe Winkleman and Tony Dean. And, oh, man. I wrote a letter to them one time. They never wrote back, but they were just I loved watching them. I remember being like 10 writing that letter, but yeah. Anyway,
well, I wrote Garth Brooks a letter too, but he never wrote back either. So
dirtbag. Oh, that's funny. Well, stay on the line here. I would love to just ask you another question, but appreciate you and your time and giving and sharing just a little bit about yourself, and thanks again. That's all. Yeah, all I gotta say. Thank you so much.
I appreciate you for having me. Thank you so much.
But it ain't my ground. This is God's country.